Conditions on the lay today, layered cloud. But that shouldn't be off-putting enough for me as I take my next part of the walk from Burrow Mump to Stoke St Gregory. That'll be 3.42 miles and it should take about an hour and a half. And before I start, because of the intersection between the St Michael and St Mary line, I need to decide which line to follow today. I've had a look at the map, I've had a look at the compass, and the outcome is I'm walking the St Mary line today. And I'll be going to Stoke St Gregory, passing King Alfred's monument along the way. But the trouble is I'm missing out St Michael Church, and I think that's a significant one also. So at some point today, I'll be splitting myself into two. Well, that's how quantum works, apparently. Superposition, entanglement, and all that shit. Let's get moving. Looks like here in Burrow Bridge, they've got their own library. Let's have a quick glance. Worthwhile just taking note of some of the books in here that may end up having some significant synchronicity on the walk today. King, that's an interesting one. King Alfred's monument. So we're at Burrow Bridge Tollgate. Can't see that probably in the shade. That's more interesting. Nice pub. When I was here last, I lost my dowsing rods. Well, I've lost one on Burrow Mump, so whoever found it, hopefully you're having a good time finding energy lines somewhere. I did go back and have a look, he was gone. And then I lost another one at a vineyard last week where I intended to dowse, had a slight bit too much to drink and forgot my dowsing rod on there. So I've got no dowsing rods, but I'll explain that in a minute when I do my first dowsing. So basically, there's been a lot of splitting this week of dowsing rods. I will be splitting myself up today, I think, and making sure that I can see all the objectives of this part of where we are on the map. Well, that's the idea anyway. We'll see if it works. It's probably a load of bollocks if I'm honest. I'll just bring your attention to this. These are sweat patches. Just warning you, sometimes it does end up looking like men's genitalia. Not the best look. And here we are, first stop of the day. King Alfred's monument. Apparently he was the last hope of England against the Viking invasion. And the stone stands in his memory, looking over the lands he once fought over. Apparently the story took place after the Danes took over Wessex and Alfred was forced to seek a refuge in Somerset in the marshes and a little place called Athelney. Athelney? Athelney. My best Somerset accent that was. So it was a perfect place to hide on the levels because it was basically swampy and was taken in by a peasant fisherwoman who had a small hut on the marshes. While he was here, the woman asked Alfred to look after her griddle cakes, which were small loaves of bread in Saxon times. They were baking by the fire, but Alfred was just a wee bit distracted by his whole kingdom being taken over by the Danes, and he left them to burn by mistake. Well, I'm not entirely sure if this is a synchronicity or not, but today's sustenance consists of what can only be described as a burnt loaf of toast. I know how he felt. And legend is that this is basically the birthplace of England. One thing left to do, and that's to do some dowsing. Now, I did read that there was also some metalworks or ironworks here, which is a synchronicity because I've lost my dowsing rods. I've actually gone off-piste to replace them. And then, of doing a bit of research, found a blacksmith who I've asked to commission some dowsing rods made out of wrought iron. From an engineering point of view, I had to obviously put it out. He basically completely ignored it and just sort of made it. He was very talented. So without further ado, let's get some dowsing done with the heavy-duty dowsing rods. I would say a design based on Hamish Miller. And he said he could feel the energy more if you've got flat elements. But we'll give it a go. Not going to see much there, are you? So, interestingly enough, I haven't had a chance to try these dowsing rods out yet. And the real reason for it is that apparently it doesn't matter what the material is and what you use. It's really about your interaction between the place you are and the rod picking up. Now, as it happens, we're not on an energy line that I know of, and I can't feel anything. We're just at this corner, I can a little bit, but no. An inconclusive start to the new dowsing rods. Perhaps they don't work. Do I question it? Well, this is where I'm going to Stoke St Gregory today, where there is a known energy line, and then we can test out the theory, but as it stands, nothing to report. Mr. Alfred. Douse forth, Dennis. Finding my way to the church in Stoke St Gregory, I noticed this feature on the map, which is Windmill Hill and Windmill Mound, and it's a brilliant view. I've actually put this up here as well. Yeah, so you can see Wellington Monument, never heard of that, Bruton Pheasant, Glastonbury Tor, Burrow Mump, East Ling, North Peverton. What an amazing view! It was really interesting walking through up the road there, that all the houses are built on a slant. All the gardens are full of fruit and exotic plants, so it must be really fertile here. Oh, looks like it's the female genitalia now. So whilst the energy line does not flow over Windmill Hill, it's still worth to have a douse. It's marked on the map as perhaps some kind of hill fort or burial site. So I'm going to do a bit of dowsing anyway, just see what I can find. There's definitely something here. The rods are moving in. They don't give us much action on the camera, but you get more action in the hands. I would almost suggest that's my first detection with the rods. Could the energy on Windmill Hill just be the energy that was put into the ground with the circular motion of the gears and the windmill itself and the grinding wheel? Possibly, but my new heavy duty rods have certainly picked up on something. So I'm quite pleased about that. Right, on to Stoke St Gregory. Slight detour. Been walking for about 3 hours. Just realised I'm walking across the cricket pitch. I don't think I'm holding up play. Here we have it. Well, I finished the walk. It's 4.79 miles in the end, and it took 2 hours 16. Well, there's a few detours in that. Right, I'll get myself prepared. See how this place feels. It's a lovely looking church, very unusual. Once the hub of basket weaving, water and wandering monks. Some ley line theorists suggest that the Tone Valley holds residual energy absorbed at the wetland's spongy layers. I've got some spongy layers. There is a long history of willow weaving due to the surrounding wetlands, so yeah. Well, I think firstly I should go and look inside. I know where the St Mary line roughly goes through the church, but we'll see if we can see if it's open for a start. So St Gregory's Church is a 14th century church, and it dates back and has its connections to King Alfred. The bell just rang and the ropes moved. Ooh, that's a thick door. Little swifts nesting, looking at me up there. I think it's time that we split myself and checked out St Michael's Church in St Michael's Church. So, time for the quantum entanglement to begin. So the swallows in this part of the church here is where the line runs through, and they're nested right on the St Mary line. Right then, Dennis 2, tell me about St Michael's Church. Well, it's altogether a bit of a mystery, I'd say, Dennis 1. I've had a look online, can hardly find any information about this church. I think it's associated with a local family, the Barons of Monsell, which seem to be, there's a big house over there. You see some old buildings. So it was probably a church associated with the estate, is my guess. A very strange place with very old graves. And yeah, that's Templar Knights. I don't know what the history is of this place. Why seek the living among the dead? Jesus. 4th Baron of Monsell. Well, these must be the others. Number 3, number 2, number 1. Oh, it's locked. Seek him that shadow of death. Christ, that's satanical. Right, Dennis 1, I'll do a bit of dowsing here. Tell you what I can find. I believe the St Michael line comes through the St Michael Church in St Michael Church. Triple whammy. Brilliant. Let's do some dowsing. Well, I'm definitely going to have to confirm that the rods are working. Picked it up here. Right there. You can feel it. Unbelievably, Dennis 1, it's a very strong line here. Brilliant. I'm well chuffed. So, elimination of copper being associated. I think dowsing is more to do with you and your connection with the energy, for sure. The rod material is completely irrelevant. Rather than disturb the swallows nesting, I'll go and sit over there and do a bit of resonant grounding. Well, I'll do some resonant grounding, why not? I mean, it should be quite a sensitive place. Well done, Dennis 2. I've had a good resonant grounding. Very nice, very peaceful, but a bit uneasy. These Templar Knights surrounded here. Time to go. I'll see you back with yourself, if you know what I mean. Okay, I think you can make your way back here now. I don't know how that's going to work out. If you can, if that works.